Is freelance consulting the better alternative to working for an MBB firm such as McKinsey, BCG or Bain? Before I explain the concept of freelance consulting in more detail, let us first ask a consultant currently working for an MBB firm about his opinion. What do you think about freelance consulting? I'm sorry, I have no time. We have to finish this presentation by tomorrow morning. My name is Jack. I spent 5 years with McKinsey & Company as a consultant and project manager, and since then I've been working as a freelance consultant or independent management advisor, and I'm enjoying it very much so far. Now I think most consultants on the job are not aware of freelance consulting as a potential career option, and I can very much understand that because when I was still working with McKinsey, I also didn't have any time to think about such stuff. However, wherever you stand in your own career right now, I strongly recommend to you that you start considering freelance consulting as a potential career option that you could move on to at some point. Let us explore if freelance consulting could be an attractive option for you. Let us contrast the two models of working for a consulting firm versus freelance consulting with each other. You always have some sort of client who orders a project. In practice it's a bit more complicated, but let's keep it simple here, and also makes a payment to the consulting firm. In exchange, the consulting firm delivers the project. Inside the consulting firm you have the leadership, here represented by a partner, and you have the operating teams, here represented by a consultant, which is typically what you start your consulting career as. The partner fulfills many important tasks. He or she is responsible that the projects are delivered to the satisfaction of the client, and also he or she represents the consulting firm at the client, so is responsible for running the sales negotiations, pricing the projects, and also if there are very important presentations to deliver, the partner may do it him or herself and also be present at steering committees and so on. Now, internally, given that the partner sells these projects, the partner creates project opportunities for you that you can work on. And since at the beginning of your career you are inexperienced, the partner also delivers training to you. Now, in exchange, you give your work and time. You mean you work many crazy hours. And now, as I said, there's a payment from the client to the consulting firm. The bulk of this payment goes into the pockets of the partner, and you receive a fraction of that in form of a salary. Coming to freelance consulting, the main difference is that now there isn't anymore any consulting firm involved and also no partner or leadership. Instead, it's just you and the client. You still give your work and time, and now you become fully responsible for the delivery of your project. In reverse, the client makes the order directly from you, and also the payment goes directly to you, whatever project price you have agreed upon. Freelance consulting? That sounds interesting actually. Work harder! You are with You in Consulting, where I share my insider knowledge to help you with your entry, rise and exit as a management consultant. If you like this video so far, please spread the love and hit the like button right now. And subscribe to the You in Consulting channel for more quality content to come. Also, if you have any questions on a freelance consulting career, drop them in the comments below so that I can get back to you. I recently made a video in which I reflect on my own McKinsey consulting career. Check it out here. I think it's both insightful and also very funny. Now though, let me explain to you what I think are the main advantages of working as a freelance consultant compared to working as an employed consultant. And I just mentioned briefly, as a freelance consultant, you typically receive your money directly from the client, and in most cases it's more. Let me explain to you why. I'm referring to a German case here. If you work as a consultant in Germany, I think it's very reasonable to assume that you have a salary of 90k euro per year. Of course, it depends a bit on which firm you work with, what is your entry level, and also how many years have you spent already with the company as a consultant. But I think this figure serves us well for this purpose. As a freelance consultant, if you bring a couple of years of MBB experience, it's very reasonable to assume that you can charge at least 1,000 euro a day. Working days in Germany, you have around 255 days per year, and then I subtracted 25 days for vacation to make it equivalent to the employed consultant, and I took off another 50 days because as a freelance consultant, you also have to work on acquiring your projects. Maybe you have some idling time in between them, and also maybe you want to spend some time on training or so. So if we assume as a freelance consultant, you work 180 days per year, times 1,000 euro, which I think is the lower end of what you can earn, when you come out with 180 euro K annual salary, which is actually double of what you earn as an employed consultant. For a project manager, I want to keep it short here because it's a very similar business case. As a project manager, you earn a higher annual salary, but as a freelance consultant, you can also charge a higher daily fee with that background, which means you can expect to still roughly double your annual income. In the partner scenario, though, the business case starts to flip at the latest. At an MEB firm, entry salary of a partner, you can roughly assume €500,000 per year. And of course, as a freelance consultant, a partner can charge a higher daily rate. But still, it will be very difficult to match the millions of euro you can actually earn as a senior partner at one of the MEB firms. And the reason is just that it's a different business model. As a partner, you don't anymore sell your own time as a consultant, but you sell consultants to the client. And then you get paid on the number of consultants you sell. And that is how you scale up your salary as a partner. As a word of caution, as a freelance consultant, you also have some extra expenses. So at the beginning, you will have to buy your own equipment. You may want to access some databases. Maybe you want to get some help with your PowerPoint slides or whatever. But also as a freelance consultant, you typically work fewer hours compared to what your colleagues at the MEB consulting firms do. Which brings us to our next topic. As a freelance consultant, you typically enjoy greater flexibility. As a freelance consultant, as we just learned, you can just keep your previous working hours and earn twice the annual income. But I also know many cases of ex-MEB consultants who now are working as freelance consultants, and they just work fewer hours than before, but they keep their previous annual income, and now they spend their new free time on traveling or spending more time with their families and so on. Or you can do it like me and spend hours on making and editing with you and consulting videos. There are a couple of further aspects about working as a freelance consultant that I like. So you have greater responsibility. I mean, in a consulting firm, if things become really important, you can be sure that at some point somebody will pick up your work and present it on your behalf to the client. And as a freelance consultant, you have to step up in terms of responsibility because there just isn't anybody else who can represent you. Also, you have fewer stakeholders to be kept happy, and now it's just you and your client. Your client you will have to keep happy for sure, but there's no boss from your consulting firm that you also have to keep an eye on. And that can be stressful if the interests of your client don't fully match the interests of your boss. Last but not least, there's no evaluation stress. As a consultant in a consulting firm, your performance gets regularly evaluated to make decisions on your career progress, your development goals, and so on. But there's also then room for mind games, for pressure, politics, and so on. And if you just work with a client directly as a freelance consultant, you will also get valuable feedback on your work. But ultimately, the client just wants to get the job done, and that makes for a much simpler relationship. So much on the bright sides of freelance consulting life. There are also some caveats. I mentioned to you earlier, the partner fulfills important tasks such as creating project opportunities for you. And if the firm isn't there anymore, you will have to create project opportunities for yourself by leveraging your personal network, branding yourself. You can also tap into the help of freelance consulting platforms, which I think will be a topic of another video. And also, what about the training you receive from your seniors? How do you develop your skills? Who is mentoring you when you work as a freelance consultant? And really, last but not least, the consulting firms bring you the luxury of all these support services. If you have now as a freelance consultant, if you have a problem with your Excel file, whom do you call? If you have an IT problem, you may be alone and in trouble. As we analyzed earlier, it's tough as a freelance consultant to earn the equivalent of a partner's salary. And also, when you become self-employed, there are some administrative hurdles that you have to overcome, which should not scare you though. Now, comparing again the MEB experience with the freelance consulting experience. I think when you come straight out of university, it's tough to immediately start as a freelance consultant, because what is the specific expertise that you have to offer that you want to get paid for? Maybe if you are a cryptocurrency advisor and McKinsey cannot offer that, then you're good to go already. But generally spoken, I think it's a good idea to gather some years of experience in a consulting firm, and then you also have some value to offer that your clients will reward you for. Having said all that, I think it's an excellent option. Freelance consulting is a very interesting option because you will grow your entrepreneurial mindset, you will grow your skill set in a different way, you will grow your own network and so on. So I think if you haven't yet done so, you really should start considering to try out the freelance consulting experience for yourself. Now, let's check what our MBB friend is doing at the moment. I'm ready for freelance consulting. Don't forget to subscribe. Now!